IVM.
You're listening to TFG Football.
Welcome everyone, this is the TFG Indian Football Podcast. My name is Kevin and you can hear me excited. The reason is we're talking about the Monday Blues, and right now it is Monday morning as we're recording, and the Blues, as we talk about, it's another shade of blue that we'll be getting into the podcast. I'm talking about the Indian national team, and we have an esteemed guest with us. Firmin D'Souza is with us on the IVM podcast, and this is a great way to start this week. Firmin is, as we know, has a successful under 15 championship in the SAFF Cup that we had. So he is the head coach of the under 15 girls team, the women's team, and he will be talking to us as along with Chiranjit, who's joining us on a phone call. Coach Firmin, great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
All right. And that's how we get along. As we just mentioned, the under 15 women's team of the national side took on one of the good countries that we could almost go head to head with, and we did get successful over there. The SAFF Cup is home, and a successful campaign to begin with for you, Coach. How was that? We heard good stories about the team bonding, and would you like to share what all went through the camp successfully and taking it forward to the under 16 championship?
Yes, certainly. Basically, first, when I was appointed, I came to know about the team that I would have in the coaching staff, and I was really glad to have a legend like Bem Devi as my assistant coach. I too am a fan of hers, so it was a real privilege to have her. I had also been with Kadir sir in Goa for the goalkeeping level 2 course. We were there on it together, so we were pretty comfortable with each other, so I was glad on that appointment as well. And once we started working, I was even more happier with the kind of quality Bem Devi and Kadir sir brought. It really seemed like it was a world-class team in sense of coaching. Going ahead from there, we did have a very short time to do selections, and after that go to the SAFF Cup. So we had to face a team like Bangladesh, which we were aware of, which did a 7-month camp in Japan before coming for the SAFF Cup. And they had won a 4 Nations tournament before that, and also qualified for the AFC Under 16 Championships last time. So we knew we had an uphill task, and we had to face it and deal with it within 15 days. For that, we selected the team and tried our best, but I will give all the credit to the girls, because I basically could have time to only do 4 tactical sessions and about 4 conditioning sessions. And I have worked in UK and with under 18 boys out there, and there it used to generally happen that in one tactical session they would pick up, absorb everything that was being taught. But when I came back to India, I found it really difficult, because most of the time I had to repeat a tactical session about 7 to sometimes even 10 times for kids to absorb what I'm trying to get to them. But these girls were amazing. They actually, every session that I taught them, they picked up everything. I was amazed, I was shocked, and so was everyone in the coaching staff, that these girls could really, and going ahead also, they could really do well for themselves.
And it was critical as well, the short time span that we had heading into this cup. If the sessions wouldn't be absorbed quickly enough, it would mean tactical wise, we're not heading into the best shape then.
Yeah. So if whoever has followed the games, if you'll see the team shape, how it has kept improving every game, how they have been, actually we have dominated every game that we played. The 8 games that we have played in both SAFF Cup and the AFC Championships qualifiers, round 1, we dominated every game that we played. The possession has always been in our favor, more than 50% in every match. And for that kind of confidence, for girls who do not play football at all because they don't have enough of competitive matches, is amazing. It is amazing.
And Chiranjit, I'd like to bring you over here. We've seen the under 15 team do so well. The confidence was so high, and heading into this championship, the under 16 AFC championship that we followed up by the win, the confidence was high. And we fell short. Now, we'd just like to touch upon the group that we were set up in. You did follow up on this campaign of us. So you did follow up on this campaign. What you thought about the confidence that we came into the AFC qualifiers?
Yeah, we were paired up with Pakistan. Of course, that's always fun. We had Mongolia, the host country of the qualifiers of that group. We had Hong Kong. We had Laos. And we almost made it, and I would like to really hear in detail from the coach about how it went down. But first, actually, I was curious about coach, when you came into the position and you were going through the trials. How difficult is it to get an initial read on the players that you have to pick from? When you're comparing them to the boys or the men's team that are out there, because you just look at the list, they only one player has a club. Like Anjali is with FC Pune City. The rest all were picked from the junior nationals, from what I can glean. And I'm pretty sure you came in with almost zero video clips, zero data on what each of them specialize in. And how do you deal with that situation? Because you're basically walking into a blank slate and you have to pick up all the information on the go and just do it faster than it's fair to ask you to do. So how do you deal with that situation?
Well, I was a bit fortunate because I was the Maharashtra coach for the under 15 girls, and I was there for the junior nationals, and like I always do, I do my homework on all the teams because you never know which team you face. And because of that, I had my notes on almost every player that played in the tournament. And I was able to, accordingly call for those 35 players as per what I had seen. So that was something that worked in my favor. I was very fortunate to be there at the sub-junior nationals as the Maharashtra team coach. And that really was a good thing. So I got to see what I really wanted, which girls I wanted, and AIFF also completely supported me in that. They allowed me to call the girls which I wanted, and from that 35, as per, we did some practice matches. We would like to even thank the Odisha Football Association, where they arranged for good competitive practice matches versus their women's under 19 team, which gave me a good view of all the girls, how they play and how they play against stronger opponents, which allowed me to select a decent team. Skill wise, yes, I wasn't too happy initially, but I can't blame any of the girls because they don't play enough football to have that much skill or don't get proper coaching to have that skill.
Yeah, Coach, I would just like to bring you back to the point, when at the start of the SAFF championship, you mentioned the team was full of confidence and you made a statement that we are here to win. That really shows the confidence that you had in the team, the belief that you had in the team, and really that panned out the same way that you anticipated the tournament to be.
As I said, that the team, the girls were amazing, not only on the field, even off the field. Every instruction given to them, they are small kids after all. Like a small thing like not to have chocolates, not to have junk food. And I'm telling you, even till 3 months that I was with them, they were offered junk food and they refused it. We told that today's off day, you can cheat. They refused it. They said, no, sir, you have taught us to sacrifice and we realize what it has bought us. And they were so disciplined. I was really proud of them. And I'm saying that is why a lot of credit goes to these girls. They have changed their lifestyles. They have sacrificed so much, been away from home for 3 months, and never did they let me also feel that I was away from home. I felt like family with them, and that the team bonding that was there. I would have sometimes discussions with them. I would ask them, do you have problems? They would only talk about, certain problems at home, like we don't get enough time to go and play or something like that. But when I say, no, I'm talking about problems out here, they'd say, this is paradise. They would say, we enjoy it out here. And I'm telling you, there were girls, we paired the girls from different states together for communication. And I'm telling you, I didn't know how it would work, because someone who speaks a different language, two players who speak different languages, there's no way they could have communicated, but they were communicating, sharing jokes. It was non-verbal communication, and they were able to understand each other absolutely well, which was shocking again. So, yeah, when we said we went there to win, it was a team. It was never individuals. It was a team. We were ready for every challenge that would come our way. And it was not just ready. We were looking at what problems we could have and the possible solutions for it. And I'm telling you, most of the solutions would come from the girls itself.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Just all this while we've heard you get bonded with the girls, and likewise, we'd like to hear your story as well. How you got into football. In a way, was this your dream to follow what you had thought about, or is just something that came along?
Yeah. So I started playing football pretty late, when I was about close to 16 years, and I started coaching at almost the same time. Yeah, I did pretty well compared to a lot of my classmates in school, where, they were playing for so many years, and I just started playing, and then I went on to play for a couple of good teams in Mumbai. But while playing for good teams, I also realized that most of the teams don't have a coach. It's the captain who takes the session, and the session is more over fitness. And in the end of the day, we play a game for 20 minutes, and you're trying to score in a goal that is 1 yard or 2 yards big. When in the match situation, we never do that. So I soon realized that this is nothing realistic, that there's any kind of realistic coaching, and I'll have to move into coaching and administration if football needs to improve. And from the time I started playing, my dream was the World Cup. And it will always be. That dream will be fulfilled someday, and I hope I can contribute enough for that dream to be fulfilled. That is my ambition in life, basically, to create or help create some systems which will let the talent come up, and someday we are able to qualify for the World Cup and do well in the World Cup.
Yeah, Chiranjeev, we're talking about getting into coaching, and as time has progressed, we've seen a lot of coaches coming up. We're lucky to have Coach Firmin here, and just to throw light upon how young coaches have come up, and this is a great boost for India as well, having young coaches at the helm, and reaching at heights that we've not seen this happen earlier.
You are in that list, Kevin, in the upcoming coaches, and it's great to see the new generation of coaches who have come up. Because look, we grew up looking at the big coaches of the Maidan like Subhash Bhowmik, Bablu Bhattacharya, PK Banerjee. Those are the guys who who were very experienced as players, who knew the game technically very well. And they sort of ruled the team by personality. So we sort of got used to that whole very tough teacher, like the kind of teachers we see stereotyped in all kind of movies and stuff like that. Those were the coaches who were very tough and used to shout at players and all that stuff. And they had a big sort of aversion towards getting qualified by coaching licenses or studying about it. They were like, they have a lot of experience, they're gonna go with that. And we did have some success with that, but the new generation is they take care of the whole licensing system. They get qualified, they study the game in a very different way than the older generation. And you see these partnerships forming in different clubs. Like in ISL, you see a lot of the Indian coaches serving as assistant coaches in different clubs for years. and gaining that experience. In I-League, you have similar kind of partnerships like Sanjay Sen, Shankar Lal Chakrabarti at Mohan Bagan. And they work together for 3-4 years, and it becomes a partnership, a symbiosis in a way that helps the team grow and helps the coaches grow as well. And we're seeing now all that spilling into the national team as well. You heard the rumors that Albert Roca might become the national team head coach next, and Derek Pereira might be assistant coach with a view of taking over later long term. Is it similar, the kind of partnership that you have, coach, with him, going forward? Is there a long-term plan behind those appointments?
Well, I certainly think they have a long-term plan. I have not been there long enough to know what exactly has been planned, but I'm sure that AIFF is well organized and they are looking ahead, and you can see that in the results as well, that we are looking at the future, we are developing the future, and I'm sure AIFF has some long-term plans planned for ahead.
Yeah, coach, you've also done a lot of touring for your coaching, gaining technical knowledge, just the way by modern football has evolved. So just take us through how you've enriched yourself with technical knowledge.
Yeah, so what happened is in about 2003-2004, while I was playing, I realized that I got to move totally into coaching and administration. So I did some research. I found out where were the best licenses in the world and which organizations were doing very well when it came to teaching of those licenses. And through that research, I found Bolton Wanderers in UK, who at that point of time were a Premier League team. And I applied with them and I sent my experience, everything and all. And they said, yeah, you could come down there. However, I did need to take care of my finances, and since I didn't come from a well-to-do family, I had to collect all of the money that was required, and I did about 3 jobs a day, worked in a call center, did 2 coaching jobs, and played as well. So hardly slept, maybe an hour or 2 a day. That was what my schedule was. Collected that money, went to UK, did my courses there, and while I was doing the courses, they were pretty impressed with my work, and they also offered me to work with them. So I gained a lot of experience working there, which was very, very important. And that's how it worked over there. And then now when I came down, recently I was allowed to change my license to AFC, and I was told to do the AFCB license, which I did, and on our course, 2 of us passed the AFCB license from 19. And the next step that came was the head coach of the Indian national team, which was a great privilege for me. And I'm happy I could do such a lot of good work with that team. And I'm also sorry to every Indian for letting them down by not qualifying for the final round of the AFC Under-16 Women's Championship.
Yeah, but I think...
Coach, I don't think you have anything to be sorry about. That team went out and played their hearts out. The conditions, the format, nothing was favorable, to us. And I think the team was the best in the group. And it's just unfortunate that we didn't make it. You have nothing to be sorry about here.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, and on that note, I think we really have to learn back, take a step back and understand what better we could have got from the short training time. Probably those lessons will stay with us, and heading into the next campaign, that we can do much better than at least in the short period that we could achieve. And on that note, we will be heading into a break, and on the other side, we'll be talking more about women's football, how the scenario is in India, and the competitive matches that they go through, and a lot more on the other side. Come back to us.
So it's been another great week on IVM Podcast, just like it is every week. If you aren't following us on social media, you should. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Send us a message, send us a comment. Let us know what you think about the stuff that we're doing and the stuff that you're listening to. This week on Cyrus Says, Cyrus is joined by writer Vrishali Telang. She speaks about jumping from TV to books and her memories of producing MTV Loveline. On the Scene and the Unseen, Amit is joined by founder-editor of The Wire, Siddharth Bhatia, and senior editor of The Hindu, Peter Griffin. They discuss the current state of Indian media and the role of journalists today. This week, Indranil Guha, co-founder of FinPech, talks to Anupam on Paisa Vaisa about alpha SIPs. Last week on Know Your Kanun, lawyer and host Amber Rana took us through the history and scope of Section 497 and the time when adultery was first recognized as an offense. On the Kinetic Living podcast, Urmi spoke to IVM's co-founder Kavita Rajwade about her love for functional training, food, and the morning workout routine that she strictly follows. And again, guys, I just really want to remind you, the best way to spread the word about podcasting is you. You're our ambassadors. Please go out and tell a friend. Ask them to listen to something that you have enjoyed and that you think that they would enjoy as well. And with that, let's move on with your show.
All right, welcome back after the break, and here we are continuing to talk about women's football. The under-15 head coach of the national side is here with talking to us, Firmin, and we talked about the campaign that was successful for the girls, we should say women, and we will get more onto that. Chiranjit, the final of the SAFF Championship was something that turned out to be an exciting lesson for us, and that was the booster.
It was trial by fire, wasn't it? You can glean that a lot of the players have potential. Even the coach had a lot of confidence going in there, but it was always set up as an India versus Bangladesh final. We scored 13 goals in the group stage. They scored 17. And these were the giants in the tournament. And facing Bangladesh was the first big test that the team had to go through. So, coach, just going into that game, what was the thought process like, and how did you prepare the girls to take on that challenge?
Well, we were very, very much aware that Bangladesh were way superior on skill, and they did dominate each and every game with a possession of close to 90%, which is in football absolutely shocking. So with that kind of prowess that they had, we knew that we are facing a very good team and in a sense superior in skill. But however, we had sorted our strategy, and we knew that on strategy we could certainly beat them, and the girls followed everything to the T. We did train a day before the final match. It was about, generally you don't train before the final match for that duration. For 1.5 hours, we had an intense training session so that our strategy was, up to the mark, and we could make sure that we can beat them. And Bangladesh did take rest one day before the finals. So they were pretty confident that they would even trash us, kind of, but they didn't expect what we came up with. And again, as I say, it's credit to the girls, because a coach can do everything in training, but the execution is to the players. And the players did execute everything that we had thought of, everything. There were so many things that I showed them on the board, not on the field, so many things that we did on the field, and they were able to absorb in 10 minutes, so many things there to learn. And because they were learning it so quickly, we were able to match them man to man and dominate the game. If I don't know how many people did watch, at least on my Kuju it did show that about 24,000 people were watching, and if they have seen, we totally dominated the game. Bangladesh did come in strong towards the end, but on a whole, for anyone who viewed the match, it was amazing to see how India dominated a team that was very good. As of right now, even Bangladesh easily qualified for the AFC Under-16 Championship second round. So we knew what we were up against, and we did work very well as a team, as a unit, and with our strategy, we did beat them.
Yeah, coach, just going back into the game, watching it, there was I think Avika's free kick hit the post 2-3 minutes into the game. Then within the first 10 minutes, you had a couple of more chances, but they were missed, and it just as a fan, this is where the panic sets in. If you, it's a superstition. If you hit the bar, then the rest of the game is going badly for you. Or if you're missing a couple of chances, and the opponent team is capable enough that if you let go of a good chance, they're going to make you pay for it. How do you handle the situation there? Like, did you let the players sort of carry themselves, or were you very involved, from the sidelines? Because the telecast didn't sort of show all that much. So how did you go through the game from the sidelines?
Well, from the sidelines, I'm generally just giving them few words of instructions when they seem to be losing concentration. Just telling them focus, concentrate, so that their concentration is there, because they know what they have to do. They know exactly what they have to do. All I need to tell them is to stay focused. Don't get distracted because of crowd, because of a free kick, because of the referee, because of the opponent saying something, because these are things that sometimes can distract, and one lapse of concentration could result in a loss. And that's what I used to keep telling them. Besides that, the coaching staff, Bem ma'am, then Kadir sir, they as well from outside would keep on encouraging the kids. Their loud voice would keep on motivating them. So yeah, it was just more of encouragement and motivation from the sidelines, and telling them to be focused and concentrate, rather than anything tactical or any information on what skill to use where, because these girls knew what to do.
Yeah.
And then that led to the Asian Championship qualifiers, and things started so well for us. Like we beat Hong Kong 6-1, Pakistan we beat 4-0, and then we faced Mongolia, and that was our first loss. I think of all the major games that this team has played, that was the first defeat, and I think that's the only defeat so far. What went wrong in that game, and what do you think you could have done better in retrospect about it?
Well, the Mongolia game was very difficult for our players to keep up with the Mongolian players, just because when we played it was -2 degrees, and so for them it was very easy to run about, because they are accustomed to those conditions. So that's where that was the only edge. We did dominate that game as well. It's not that we didn't dominate. We had a lot of chances, and we needed to finish much better, more proper decisions in front of goal and proper techniques in front of goal could have shown a absolutely different result. And you were speaking also about us hitting the crossbar. Let me tell you, in all the 8 games, we have hit the crossbar at least twice. In all the 8 games.
Yeah.
So that was always a part of the game that we had to, we used to say on the bench that we had to put tilak on the crossbar. So we had to do that every game. However, we should have scored, and I think we have to work on finishing better in front of goal, because that was the problem in the last 2 games, that we created a lot of scoring opportunities, but it was not in the back of the net.
Yeah, and we went into the last game against Laos, and we needed a win to go through. And early on, we got that goal, I think, some 20 minutes in. And the whole game, I was watching with my mouth agape, like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're actually going to go into the Asian Championship. And later that equalizer came, and that took that chance away from us. It just seems like, you talked about how Bangladesh were coming back to the game towards the end of the SAFF Championship final. Against Mongolia, we conceded a late goal, and the same thing happened against Laos, that we let in a goal that sort of that defined how our campaign went. So is that been an issue? Like, do we seem to sort of fade out towards the end of the game?
Yes, it was a slight issue, because the players certainly in a very short duration did not get enough of time for conditioning to match up standards of 90 minutes of football. So yes, towards the end you could see tired legs, you could see lapse in concentration, and we certainly will work on these things and make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. And yes, time is of value. If there is little more time for the girls to work on all these things, it would certainly help.
Yes, so talking further on women's football, I think we'd like to hear from you, coach. You've been part of the girls' team, coaching them, watching them closely, scouting to quite an extent. Where you could relate, you could even take it forward. The connection was there, to get to the national side, the best of girls that you wanted. Generally, what is the scenario? With respect to girls, is it it's easy to find girls who are of great quality and not being held up from the at least by the clubs. We've seen there's a lack of competitive matches that these girls play, and what generally is your feeling about how women's football is in India?
Well, it is developing, but until now the scenario for these girls was they weren't playing anywhere at all throughout the year. The maximum of competitive matches that they would play in a year would be about 5 to 6. So
that's way below the ideal level that we'd want.
Yeah, FIFA generally says 35 to 45 matches is minimum what a kid requires, to develop. So, yeah, these kids playing a maximum of 5 to 6 matches, that is only if they get selected for their state team. And that situation has to change. And now with the introduction of the IWL under 15, IWL under 18, it looks likely that these situations are going to change. And we hope that they get a lot of matches, because that is what competitive matches in the end of the day with good training is very important. So there has to be a balance of both. And the way looks good, the future looks good, because AIFF has now introduced the IWL under 15 and under 18. And hopefully they give them a lot of matches as well.
Yeah.
Coach, just talking about the IWL, it's so far what we've seen is that it's a short burst tournament, and it's held in one venue, which does not really prepare the players for the life as a professional footballer. It's like the touring, the playing in different conditions in front of different crowds in different pitches. It's just that life that prepares you for the hardship that's about to come for years. And the under 15, under 18 is also, as of now, it looks like it's going to be a very similar situation. Just go out there and play for 2-3 weeks. So, do you think this is enough? And how does one expand from here? I mean, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's not a league, right? I mean, it's not a league. And just going by the amount of matches the teams have got, even being in the national camp is, it's not most of the year, right? I mean, they don't have the consistency of playing all the time that the professional players have to go through. They're not living in the game per se in that way. So what can be done to address those gaps, the long periods where they don't play competitive matches?
Well, as we said, it's not enough, but it's a start. All right, first the league starting is a start. It will keep developing every year. That's what is going to happen. But besides that, I think it is up to everyone in football, to start taking initiative. This is something we only keep criticizing. Administration is not proper, coaches are not proper. All these complaints that we keep making is a good thing. But when there is a problem, you just shouldn't say that there is a problem. The next step is find the solution to the problem. So when we say that this is a problem that we are facing in our district, the district association should approach the state association and say that we want to develop coaches, we want to have a league that runs for a longer duration, we want to develop grassroots, and then in turn the state association should talk to AIFF and look at what can be done in this district. And I'm pretty sure AIFF along with the state associations are very cooperative in that manner to come and help out wherever anyone wants to take the initiative. But taking the initiative is up to everyone. It is even me. It is everyone in football. A parent also needs to take a lot of initiative, because parents don't know anything. They will just put their kid to play in a five-a-side AstroTurf in an academy, and that kid is never developing because he's playing five-a-side all his life and he wants to play for the Indian team. So parents need to do a little bit of research, take some initiative, go and find out where are the good academies, so that the academies also do well in turn and create players accordingly. So it's a give and take relationship everywhere, and the onus is on each and everyone in football.
Yeah, and that includes clubs as well, right?
Absolutely.
All the major clubs that we have here, Pune City has a women's team, Aizawl, Neroka have a women's teams. Who else? I think Delhi Dynamos are making a women's team. Most of the clubs don't have a women's team, not even a senior team, let alone like under 15, under 18. And, since they are the financial driving forces of domestic football, if they don't even participate in women's football, that tells you where the problem lies. So the club licensing system has mandated that they should have junior boys teams. Do you think, is it your, like, just asking as personal opinion, should it also include women's football, the club licensing system, that you should have a women's senior team, maybe an under 18, under 15 team to begin with?
Yeah, absolutely. That should be. It is world over in the top countries that are playing football. It is a mandate for those clubs there. Then why not for our clubs? If we are looking to move in the same direction as the top countries in football, then we should be doing the right things like they are doing.
Yeah. No, talking about the lack of competitive matches, this can be made up. And I wouldn't go ahead and say can be made up, but this is probably the case we've seen with the other national teams, that we do go on exposure tours. Now, if there is no competitive matches happening in their own country, we move to other tournaments where we participate in and face opponents that can be stronger than us, that can lead us to that competitiveness. So we just like to get your opinion on can this be a substitute if there's no competitive matches that we play, that we don't get in our own country, that we participate in tournaments and go and play clubs and friendly matches in a way. Is that beneficial in any way?
Well, it is certainly beneficial, but it comes at a cost. And the reason why no one is taking initiative is because they don't have the budgets right now to do what is basic. So what we are talking about, exposure trips and all those are second, will come next in line, where clubs could take that initiative only because they are doing really well in women's football and now they want to go to the next level. It's certainly a good step. However, we need in not only in women's football, we need to be sustainable in football itself. Right now, the way a lot of Indian football is run is, people think is sponsorship is the way how football has to be run. But that's not a fact. If you go down to UK and you see the clubs are sustainable, if a sponsorship comes in, they are able to do more things. But if there is no sponsor, they are able to sustain and do their jobs that they had thought of and kept in their long-term objectives. They are able to do all of those things without a sponsor. When a sponsor comes in, they are able to do more things. So this is where our idea about how football should be run is wrong. We need to look at more sustainable football, sustainable clubs, sustainable organizations, so that football can run by itself. It just doesn't need some help from outside. It can run by itself. And then if something comes from outside, that's an added bonus and helps us, go to the next level after that.
Yeah, I think it's a great point that you brought up, and sustainability is what has hit so many big clubs in India, and we've seen the fallout going, down so badly. From such a high number of clubs, we've talked about the giants of Goa, even Kolkata. We've seen so many clubs rising, staying there for a long time, but then it fades away because it's all the sustainability that comes into the picture. Chiranjit, I'd like to bring you. We're talking about sustainability among the big clubs, and if it does not really start off from where you begin with, right from the grassroots, take it to the youth, take it to the women's, and right till your senior national teams. Now we are heading in the wrong direction if you're not starting on the right foot.
Well, at some point, the clubs have to step up to a responsibility, because it doesn't really cost that much to have a under 18 women's team. It doesn't. I mean, if you compare the amount of crores they spend on a senior men's team, or building an academy. If you're building a residential academy, that you can have a extra hostel where you keep a women's team. It doesn't. I mean, even Aizawl FC have a 3-4 crore budget. How much does a women's under 18 team cost? I'll be shocked if it's much in the north of 25 lakhs. It doesn't cost that much, and it does not threaten a club's sustainability to have a women's team. And that's where we are. We're not even doing the basics right, and that's where the gap comes in. I mean, when was the last time an Indian professional player had proper league matches? Other than IWL is still not up there. I think the last time it was Bimim Devi and somebody else who went and played in Maldives. So we land in a difficult situation where the players don't even get enough game time. So you have to look at abroad to maybe some club will take a player and help them develop. And even the men's team has a similar situation where Stephen Constantine wants to have a US tour, or take them to Australia, where the clubs can look at the players and maybe pick one or two, and that will benefit everybody. We can't be in that state forever, and that's the sad part, that we're not even getting the big guys who are spending 40 crores or 10 crores on a first team of men to invest 25 or 50 lakhs in women's football. I don't know, coach. Do you see that whole culture of the giants, be it East Bengal, Mohun Bagan, or many of the ISL teams, actually just ignoring women's football altogether? Is this a systemic problem that you see solving on its own anytime soon?
No, I don't see it solving it by itself. See, again, it comes down to what are the norms, regulations put, because someone has to regulate that. If that is regulated and says that, this is what you have to do, that's when, these big clubs may look at it, okay, this also has to be a part of our plan. And so that is going to be more important, because right now, let's be honest that we are not that good at running football itself, and if there are too many things on the plate, they may not know how to take care of it also. So that is why they tend to ignore the things like women's football, and they say, let's first do what we are doing right, and then maybe we may look into the other avenues of football. But so there has to be some regulations, as you said, that every ISL team has to have a women's team. That's a mandate. That's the way. They will look in those directions as well and not ignore it.
Okay, coach. The point that I brought up was some foreign clubs maybe picking a couple of our players. Have you seen any interest from foreign coaches or potential clubs when they saw our players play out there in Asian Championship? Do you see that being a thing for Indian women's football going forward? That we might have a few players who actually develop abroad, thanks to some club recognizing their talent.
I can talk about the team that I was working with, and when we used to do classroom sessions, part of it was, we used to work on what is our future. So, the girls used to do, I had told them that they need to do their research, because initially when I spoke to them, I said, what is your ambition in life? So they said, to play for India. I said, very good. However, professionally, you cannot only play for India. You have to be playing somewhere else if you want to be a professional player. And where do you think you want to end up? So they had no clue about where they should be ending up. So I told them that as of right now, what is the Indian scenario is probably you may make about 30,000 Indian rupees a year if you're playing in the top league. Is that where you want to right now end? So they all said, that is not sustainable at all. So I said, exactly. So you need to look at where the top women footballers are playing. Okay. Because you're very young, you have time on hand. This is the time, because after a few years, you may not have that time. You may not be able to get into the best of universities that would take you in scholarship, best of clubs in that same area that could, make you a professional player. So I told them that you need to do your research and also look at what are the scenarios required or the requisites for the universities and clubs. There could be an exam like a TOEFL, and a lot of the girls didn't speak English. So when we used to sit and discuss, I used to ask them what research they have done, and then I used to tell them on that research how could they go ahead. And I'm telling you, a lot of these girls had already started using Google and YouTube to learn English. So it was amazing how they were also looking to make a future in football, because a lot of them come from underprivileged backgrounds, and if they make it big in football, maybe abroad, that's what our target was when we discussed that most of us should end up abroad, because that's more sustainable for them rather than playing for a club in India as of today's situation. So that's what we discussed, and everyone found a lot of clubs abroad, a lot of universities abroad, and are doing a lot of research, and are now going to be, even they told me that we will be sending those clubs and universities emails saying that we are so and so player, this is our profile, we want to go ahead in football, how can we work together. And this is the first step for these girls, and they could change women's football forever if they are able to reach out there to the top clubs.
Yeah, and of course this is the time to take action, because now they're like 14, 15 years old, and they're gearing up to get into the under 17 level, which is where they have to make the jump. Just coming back to something that might be a bit uncomfortable of an issue for you. Last night we had Gaurav Mukhi scoring for Jamshedpur FC, and he was touted as the youngest scorer in ISL ever. And we've seen some people alleging that he's not really 16 years old. There's some past incidences that have been cited that he may have fudged his age. Doesn't take away from the fact that he played well and scored a goal at a senior level football. That has nothing to do with age, but that's a situation that we have come across time and again. And people say almost every junior team out there has overage players. So what is the procedure to deal with it? I mean, from what I hear is that if a player comes and presents a passport or an Aadhaar card, that has to be taken as an age proof, right? So how do you tell if there's some age fudging going on? How do you eradicate, and what's the fix for a problem like this? Because ultimately it hurts entire Indian football, right?
So the best thing that AIFF did come out with was the CRS system. Okay, where players need to get registered, and from a very young age. So it won't be very effective right away if we talk about age, because a couple of them may have first only made certain documents, and those are genuine documents which they could make, and we can't really say it's a false document, because it is government verified. So we can't. At that point of time, we cannot do a lot when it for the guys who have already shown a wrong age. But the first step was CRS, where the players getting registered at a very young age, and they don't really cheat at a 6-year under 6 tournament or under 8 tournament. So once they get registered there, going in future, they'll not be able to change their age. That's the first step. Second step the AIFF has taken now in the youth I-Leagues is in the under 13 and the under 15 youth I-Leagues. The TW3 test is mandatory, and AIFF will conduct it themselves. So the clubs will bear the cost. However, AIFF will conduct it for it to be fair. so that nobody tampers with the reports. And this is a massive step to make sure that there is no age fraud going ahead in the under 13 and under 15 categories, which is going to actually boost the correct age talent and is really good for our grassroots football.
So this has been already implemented, or this is the plan for the coming season?
Yeah, it was. I think the recent administrative meeting sort of implemented this, which sort of led to some backlash, because a lot of clubs were saying, like, we're just and academy teams who participate in those leagues, they said, we don't have that kind of money to like pay for 30 tests, which are very expensive at this point, from what I understand. But I mean, is that even that is not like 100% guarantee that it will catch the right age? It's like 2-3 years within the margin of error. Is that the final solution, or how we can like sort of address this on a larger scale? Like you said, the central registration system. So is this going to be a combination of both going forward, or are we going to have a situation where clubs will be told that if you're going to take a player at under 15, make sure he's already in the CRS from age 8? Is that going to be a thing? What if somebody is not in the CRS when he's 5 or 6 and sort of discovers football later on and just comes in at age 16? And then we have that question mark over him. Difficult issue. How do you think like it can go forward from here?
Well, I think if you have not been in football at least till by about 12, it will be very difficult going forward for you to get into football in India, because now with the mandates coming in, where every club has to participate in the baby leagues, which is under 8, under 10, under 12. Most of the players, 99% of the players should get registered by that duration. So, as I said, it's a step for the future. They have to be registered on CRS, and complemented with that, there is the TW3 test, which gives you a age range of about 1.5 years. So even if there is an error, it could be about 6 months or max to max a year, compared to the age frauds that were happening before were by like 5 to 7 years. So it reduces that margin of a huge age fraud, and also that players are being registered on the CRS. 99% players will be already verified. It will be only that 1% chance of an age fraud, and that also would be by about 6 months to a year, not more than that.
Okay, so is the CRS system wide enough, do you think, at this point? Is everybody participating in it? Because we just see a lot of the players who come up are from the more remote areas, in Jharkhand, in Orissa or Manipur, where you don't like see the systems that are available in city, like being born at a government hospital or a registered hospital where the birth is immediately registered, stuff like that. Is it wide enough to cover the whole thing?
As of right now, the CRS is being a mandate for all tournaments that are within a district, within the state, within All India Football Federation's jurisdiction, and that is a good thing. So every player will have to be registered on the CRS, and I think within 3 years, I think that each and every club in a district will also be on the CRS. So it will happen. It will happen certainly, and CRS is a very big step. And these players once they're registered on the system, are also registered with FIFA immediately. So they are on the worldwide network and can be monitored anywhere in the world.
On the point of seeing a lot of good talent, good players coming through the non-metros, there could be some major reason that we are facing the lack of talent pooling happening in the metros. Do you think that there is something that's holding back, or it's always been the trend that the non-metros have produced the higher quality players?
I think living in the metros, I myself own a club, so the biggest problem that I have with all of my teams is that I don't see the same 18 faces ever. So I have like every time I do a tactical session, there is always a different face, and the team has never understood what they have to do tactically, and that becomes a big problem because in metros life is too competitive even for kids. They have to go for 10 classes, they have to come for football classes, they have so much of study pressure, they travel time is way too much because of the traffic, so it becomes very difficult in a metro for kids to attend practice regularly. And also grounds is a big issue. At least in Mumbai, for us getting a ground is so difficult, and because there are 3-4 grounds which are 11 aside, they are booked by everybody, and then getting the ground is so difficult, and when we get the ground, getting the kids is so difficult. So there are a lot of problems in the metros which we need to sort out. We need to come up with solutions that would work for all the clubs together, and that would be the next step to making sure that the players from the metros are developing well.
Coach, just carrying forward on that point, there seems to be a huge gap in terms of talent development in certain areas of the country. Like you look at, if you're talking about 3 states who have been really big in Indian football or have produced a huge number of players over the past few decades, you're going to mention West Bengal, Goa and Kerala.
Yeah.
Right. And
you're forgetting Manipur.
Look at your team. Yeah, you look at your team. I don't think there's a single player from those 3 states. So it just seems like you have such huge infrastructure there for players to come up, which works for the men, but they just don't develop women's players at all. I mean, they're just almost non-existent in the women's football map. Do you think this is affecting Indian women's football as a whole? It's not letting us reach the full potential. And how do you make these people realize that they have to just work with women's football as well?
As I said, there will have to be some norms and regulations put in place for that. So I wouldn't know what exactly are the problems out there. Maybe if I visit and speak to those associations, I get that opportunity, then I could probably look into that and we could see what are the solutions to those problems and have women's football develop all over the country and give it its due credit that it deserves. As of right now, all we could hope is that there are certain norms and regulations and mandates put on the state associations, districts, clubs, so that they start developing women's football.
Coach, you've been to the UK, just struck me over here. We're talking about grassroots, we're talking about football at a young age, not having those consistent players or students, continuing what they begin with, not having the support. Now, where do you think we can draw the line, where at least we'll draw some inspiration from, a developed nation that's progressing strongly in the grassroots? It's this one problem is there, we don't have parents pushing players enough. Probably we are lacking with the education that the parents are receiving. They have no clue if a child enrolls in a particular sport. There's a way forward for them. If there's a pathway for the parents to know if the child at 6 enrolls in a sport, or we're talking about football, continuing that till the age of 12, where you head on to the youth leagues. Probably is that the missing piece where we missing out on players. At least gaining those the big pool of players from the grassroots, and then it also helps solve the problem when you have players playing from the age of 6, 7. You have them registered with the CRS. The players are there in the system. If you've started off, say, with a massive big pool, by the time they are 12, you at least get to know, they've played so many matches, they've got the touches right, they've got competitive matches under their belt. Probably this is where we can draw some inspiration from the at least the developed nations.
Certainly. Now, what happens is parents generally go behind the big brand rather than really finding out how will their kid develop as a player, what is going to be his exit path, what is the requisite, like FIFA says, 35 to 45 competitive matches, and competitive means a proper recognized tournament. So all of these things, the parents need to be doing a bit of a research, doing their research, and then putting their kid into an academy. Because at least talking about in Mumbai, there are close to about 400 academies. All right, from which I would say now how many of them have applied for an AIFF accreditation or a FIFA accreditation? Okay, maximum of maybe 20 clubs. Okay, yeah. So which are proper academies. Now these 20 clubs are investing in the kids, making sure they have proper exit paths, and everything is done legally the right way. And this exit path will certainly help them, because if you go through an academy that's not accredited, not playing the top, that's the youth I league, your kid is never going to go up the ladder. Yeah. So this is what parents need to realize, and I do believe that there need to be a lot of workshops in schools to educate parents, what is the way forward in football. So once they know, they can choose the right academies, they can choose the right kind of training, they can ask the right kind of questions, because nobody is asking the right questions. They see a very big brand, they put their kid over there. The brand may be really big, however the coach is a community coach from abroad. He's a community coach whose job is to just go and play fun games with the people of the community and not really coach football. So parents need to look into such things, because they think, a big Spanish or a big UK brand has come into the country, and the coach who's coming from there will obviously be a great coach. That's not a necessity. We need to ask, what is his qualification, what is his experience, how many top players had ever trained under him, or what did he achieve in his coaching career. We need to ask these questions. Parents are not asking these questions. They blindly follow a big brand and put their kid there, and 4 or 5 years down the line they realize that my kid is not playing at the highest level, and kids in these proper academies are playing at a good level. So this is what is lacking. As I said, education for even coaches, even for parents, even for everyone in football, education is lacking, and we are ignorant to the education in football.
Yeah, I think that's precisely the point that you made to the girls, the under 15 girls as well. Had they been known about this, they could have been better prepared.
Yeah.
It just helps out, planning your professional career that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, coach. First of all, thank you for the great job you've done with the under 15 women's team, and the way we are slowly building up towards the next level, which I think is the 2020 under 17 World Cup. Or is how do you think India's chances going into those qualifiers? I think they'll be coming up next year, right? So what are the extra steps that you are taking to ensure that we do better there than we have done in the AFC qualifiers, and what's your hopes?
The World Cup qualifiers, basically the Asia Cup itself, the AFC under 16 championship behaves as the World Cup qualifiers, and the top 3 teams from it qualify for the World Cup. So this was the World Cup qualifier as well for us.
Okay, so but this squad will be moving on to the under 16 and under 17 level, and you will be staying with the same squad, or will you take on the next batch of under 15 players?
Well, in football, nothing is forever, so we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. However, we'll stay positive, and we are making our plans and discussing. I'm going to be meeting the technical director and discuss what are my views and opinions. I do think, like we did in the boys, and the results showed with Bibiano's team, where they narrowly missed out on a World Cup spot. I think we should do the same with the girls, and by keeping them together. And yes, whenever there is better talent, they will be included in the team. No one can stop talent at its right place. So yes, there will be discussions, but at this point of time, I'm not very clear about what is going to be the plan. But yeah, I will discuss and put my opinions down on the table, and let's see how it goes ahead.
Okay, coach. Thanks a lot for clearing all the doubts and giving us all the insights on how the team is developing for the future.
Yeah, Coach,
thank you.
I would like to take one message from you for that one girl who's looking up, to the under-15 champions of the SAFF Cup, trying to, vying that spot over there in the under-15 team. She's probably 7 or 8 years old right now. What message would you have to give to that girl?
Well, I'll tell you, actually, on Facebook, there were a couple of parents who said, my kids are 7-8 year olds and we want them to play like your girls. They did do a great job. And I told this to our team. I told the girls this, and means almost all of us had tears in our eyes, feeling so proud that, back home we were inspiring girls to be footballers. And the message to every kid out there is, they got to be following their dream. If it is football, then you got to be giving your 100%, and it's never going to be easy. There's always going to be 1,000 hurdles. Like I say, there's always going to be 1,000 hurdles, and the step is we play always to win. Because a lot of time people say you play to participate. No, you play to win. Okay, you have participated is a great thing. You play to win. At the end of the game, you accept the result.
Yeah.
Okay, that is what sport is all about, and it teaches you that when these 1,000 hurdles come, you have to get past them very efficiently. Okay, because you could walk and finish a race, but the aim of the race is not to walk and finish it. You have to jump past those hurdles and jump at a good pace, and this is how we always have to be in life. All right, things could always go wrong. We could always lose a race, but that is the process of life, where failure is a stepping stone to success. So we all have to strive to follow our dreams, and make sure we give it our 100% every time we are on that field. We give it our 100% and try to always play competitive and win. And whatever happens in the game, accept it, learn from it, and go on to make sure that you don't repeat those mistakes and get better the next time.
Yeah, I think that's super inspiring. That just pumps me up, just wants me to get back to where I'm coaching the grassroots. And great, thank you so much, Coach Firmin. And we wish you all the best, and we wish you, may your dream come true. May India play in the World Cup soon, and that's all our hope. That's, I think, most of everybody's aim and ambition to see India at the World Cup in some level. Thank you so much again for joining us. Chiranjit, thanks you once again. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, do not forget to like, share, subscribe. IVM Podcast app is what you want to download for awesome shows like the TFG Podcast. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can also listen to this podcast on the IVM website. And also SoundCloud is the platform where you can listen to this awesome podcast. Come back to us next week with another dose of Indian football. Till then, have a great week. Enjoy yourselves.
Every week comes a show where three people come together to tell you about stuff they like. A movie, a TV show, a book, and other stuff. Tune in every Monday on the IVM Podcast app to IVM Likes. Batman approves this message. Thank you, Batman.
Long, long ago, not in Bethlehem, but in a place nearby, there was a wonderful birth of a huge show, which I like to call Cyrus Says. A show that encapsulates everything in human history, from the first Homo sapien to the last Homo sapien, who's traversed the entire world and then come back to India. This is a show which tells you everything about everything. If you want to know, avoid Google, come to us. It's called Cyrus Says. Get new episodes every Monday and Thursday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts from. It's simple as A, B, oh God, what comes after that?